and she's going to be talking to us on how to basically build your own empire. Somebody say empire. You need to be empowered to build an empire. Can you say empowered to build an empire? And so we're going to learn about how to build and faithfully steward like what God has given unto us. So it's a business startup workshop. It's going to be very practical. We're going to be learning some really practical things to do. Though it will be very interactive, knowing the speaker and how she does her sessions. So, you know, she might be all up in your, I'm just letting you know. She's a wonderful mentor to youth and young adults. She's been a professor. She's currently a consultant for companies. She's worked with companies like Google, Microsoft, name it. She's done it. And she's also very open. If you met her somewhere, you might not even know that this is the person that I'm talking about. She used to be a dean at NYU as well. And also she did her law studies. She did some of her law studies in America and also in the UK. Did I get that right? Yes. Yeah, I'm being very careful here. I'm trying to do this extemporaneously, so please bear with me. She loves the Lord. That's the most important thing, and that's her name. Her name is Odih Kumuyi. Love, we love to have you here. We love you, love. God bless you.
It's so wonderful to be here, and I am quite honored to be speaking on something that I didn't think I would be speaking on very much. As my mom has said, I know many things about you, but a business person was never one of them. So I think of myself as an unlikely entrepreneur. So if you're here and you're thinking, well, this is about business and it's not for me, I get you. I am you, or I was you. But I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so grateful to be in this wonderful gift that God has honored your church with, which I believe is one of the outcomes of a very entrepreneurial mindset of Pastor Bello, who preached a very powerful sermon very early in my entrepreneurial journey when you all were at your former building. And he preached a very powerful sermon about the relationship that Christians have with wealth. And he spoke about, and he carefully distinguished the love of money from the opportunities that God has created for us to build wealth. And I don't know if you remember very clearly, because this was in the deep of the pandemic when we were trying to get out for a breather. And I remember being so deeply moved because that was about 1 year into being in business. Because one thing about entrepreneurship, it will challenge aspects of yourself that you did not contemplate. When you are receiving a paycheck in the safety of someone's business, and you don't have to worry about setting up your IRA, your 401k, or fighting with the IRS, as I often do, you don't have to think about these things. But there is a lot of richness and a lot of God's promises that are available to us when we think about entrepreneurial achievements through a very different mindset. So I am very happy to be here to be sharing with you on what I have titled The Seal, the Soil, and the Call. And I hope that it is a blessing to you, an inspiration, but if nothing else, a seed that can grow whether now or even 20 years into your future. So I'll start out by saying, as you think about the work that you do, if you want to make a note, just say, don't sell your seed. This is your note to yourself. Don't sell your seed. You can sell your fruit, you can demonstrate your fruit, you can lend it out, but I want you to be thinking about the concept of your seed. Because not everyone will own a business, but everyone can be entrepreneurial. Not everyone will own a business, but everyone can be entrepreneurial. And what I mean by being entrepreneurial is that you can discover what you are uniquely capable of doing by discovering what you are uniquely gifted with doing, and then thinking about how you can take that gift and not think of it as a job, not think of it as a role that you're getting paid for, and not limiting yourself to a company that you're working for, but using that unique skill and ability, which, as I am seeing here today, is the ability to take what looked like a castaway building or what was rubble and turn it into a magnificent sanctuary. It takes a level of entrepreneurship. So we're not selling tickets at the door today, thank God, but because of that mindset that I can take something that people may otherwise discard, and I have the unique ability to sit, to plan, to create a vision, and to expand on it, which now has created room and more opportunities. This is the fruiting of that seed. Are you with me? So let's go on this journey, because as Pastor Kwame introduced, my professional career started out by not knowing very much of what I wanted to do, but being raised in a household where my dad was a pastor, but more importantly, a church planter. This meant that there are very many humble days in my beginning of very, very little means. So as I looked around at my career options, I thought, what do I want to be? And my one answer was rich. So I thought of what will help me to be rich. Who are rich people? Clearly, maybe not pastors, contrary to popular belief. So I thought, maybe I should be a lawyer. They seem very rich. At first I thought doctor, but then I failed chemistry, so we had to move on. But I figured out that I could possibly do this. But my dad actually said, I really think that you're a great teacher. So I thought that was very, very disappointing, because he was limiting my potentials. And I don't recall seeing very many rich teachers. So he had a little bit of a, disagreement with me as to whether or not I should pursue law school. He thought I should go ahead and go to pursue advanced studies in education. But I'm giving you that sort of landscape because what he saw in me was my seed and not my fruit. My fruit, the fruit that I was pursuing, was other people's fruit, which was their money. What he saw in me was my potential and my capacity. And it's that seed that still creates opportunities for me, because I did discover that I was quite a teacher. And teacher did not look like being in a primary school or a high school teacher, but the ability to deliver information and to simplify concepts in a way that's digestible for people to absorb. And that has become the foundation and the framework of a company that I now built when I decided to no longer be a lawyer. So he won. But it's really good to understand what's your seed. What's the thing that you're holding that's not the whole story? That maybe someone was like, you're really good at this, but within the limited context of maybe where you were raised, someone said, you like to help people, so you should be a nurse. How many people have heard that? Right? Or being a nurse is the simplest way to get there. But what if you also like data? And what if you could be a data analyst for a biotechnological company and not have to be up all night, which I don't love, right? So what if there are many ways in which you can take your seed and plant them? Because once I understood and I put myself in different environments, I was then able to use feedback to understand the potential of my gift and my seed. So I want you to not just not sell your seed, but nourish your seed. I want you to nourish your seed and to preserve your seed. I'm using a pumpkin analogy here, which means very different things to many people in this room. So for the people who pumpkin signifies, and on to the next slide. For the people who pumpkin seed signifies egusi, put up your hand. And for the people who can enjoy a wonderful pumpkin soup, let me see you. Okay, oh, we got a Jamaican in that. I see you, girl. Yeah. And for the people who pumpkin is fall and warmth, I feel like there are 5 people in this room, so I'm going to ask those questions again. I'm a great teacher, but I don't like to punish. I like to give you all stickers and stars. So, all the egusi lovers, let me see you. Okay, please, be telling the truth. Yeah, church. And for the people who love them pumpkin soup, let me see you, Anne. Good. Or like a butternut squash soup. Where are you? Okay, I see you guys. And then for those who like fall, right? And I want you to understand the differential here because value is contextual. It means different things to different people. So some people actually use the pumpkin leaves to cook something, right? There might be some of you here. So when you think of what you bring to the table from a seed capacity, you then begin to understand that the manifestation of your seed will look, feel, and be realized differently depending on where you are and what people are willing to pay for that. So if you sell your seed on the first opportunity, then you'll lose the opportunity to capitalize on that when the opportunity presents itself. Can someone guess what's the price of a pumpkin seed in the United States? You can start from 0. 50 cents, okay. 20, okay. 50. I love the precision. Thank you. Anyone else? $4. Good. I used to go to auctions with my dad. I feel like I need a gavel up here, right? Like any offer, going once, 69 cents, 50, 59 cents, 60, 69 cents, $4. Who else? Are we top it off? Where do we go? Where do we go? What's that? $3. You're going down. We're going up. 30 going once, 30 going twice, 30 going. And sold to not that buyer. Because pumpkin seeds can go as far as $5,000 if you're entering the pumpkin growing festival of these United States. There are people who compete yearly to see who can grow the largest pumpkin. And then they take it to the pumpkin festival. And to the great disturbance of many egusi lovers would be surprised that they grow this pumpkin, they are not going to eat it. They're not going to make soup of it. They're just going to weigh it so that they can win a trophy and maybe some prize money. And there are other people who will see this pumpkin in the village and they can throw away all that flesh and take the seed and dry it and do what they need to do with it. So context is important. And if this part of my presentation makes no sense to you, I hope you remember it a few years from now. Because depending on where you find yourself, you have to figure out what people within your context will value. Because if you take that potential $5,000 worth seed and you tell someone, okay, you can get it for 40 because other people, they'll take for 4. So maybe I'm winning. Yeah, you just lost. So you also, as being an entrepreneur, you have to figure out how to value yourself, but also what someone else will value. On the streak of pumpkin seeds, anyone who knows me knows that I can't give a good presentation without talking about food because I love food. I'm going to retire selling a food truck one day. Everybody knows this, right? I haven't figured out how yet. Once I figure out the 401k thing that I'll never have to work, then I'll launch a food truck. But most people say, you love to cook, you should open a restaurant. I think that's a really bad idea because I love a soft life and I do not like to cook every day. As much as I love great food and I think I have a great affinity for great cuisine, I want you to understand an intersection of true building. So on to the next slide, you're going to see that there's an intersection of figuring out your purpose, your passion, and what makes you profit. And what I mean by that is that we all have inner purposes. And I know there are many people who think that you should always work in your purpose. I actually saw research yesterday that says that may be a bad idea, especially with AI. AI will never be any of our purposes. But you need to figure out why the work that you're doing matters. And personally, I love making great food and hanging out with people who can appreciate food. But food for me means nourishing other people and creating a sense of community. It's not something I can sell. Simi would like me to sell tickets to my Thanksgiving party, but I refuse to. Right? So sometimes you may have a capacity that people believe, ooh, this is so monetizable, but for you, it's a purpose-driven capacity. And that's perfectly fine. Another one is passion. What energizes you? What can you sustain? I may be passionate about food, but I cannot sustain having my face steamed over a pot every single day. Neither can I manage having other people in my kitchen, and I will have to hire people to actually delegate, of which I refuse to do. So I have to figure out that there's now a disconnection between something that I could do that's aligned to my purpose and something else that actually does not energize me. And then what is profitable? The profit value money, like what exactly would people be willing to pay for this? Would they pay $4? Would they pay $40? Would they pay $4,000? And that will vary from one culture, one context, one neighborhood to another. So if you aren't able to discern and decipher who you are, where you are, what you can serve, and how to make that distinction, then you may be selling the right food to the wrong market. It's not because you can't do it now, but sometimes there's something in the space of sales and business which is about helping people to understand when there's readiness for a product on the market. Netflix is a great example of that. When the founder of Netflix had the idea for Netflix, I believe back in 1995 or 8, people were like, who would pay a subscription for TV? I have TV in my house. I can go get a VCR and I can own it. You mean you want me to pay and then if I don't pay, it would all disappear? Does that make sense? How many people have a Netflix subscription? Or other subscriptions? Because Netflix revolutionized the idea of subscriptions. From Netflix, we went to Spotify, we went to everything is going to be on a subscription. It's the highest revenue driving model. So there was a time when you wanted your VCR. Anybody remember VCRs? Please do not age me. Please, please. Okay, good. Right? Or DVDs. When my son sees them, he asks, Mom, is this what they used in the olden days? So, but there's a time and place when DVDs and VCRs did excellently well. And there's a time when they no longer do well. So if you were holding on to your DVD, VCR business and you were unwilling to let go and not willing to transition, that people were willing to pay for something differently within a different context, then you would be dead in the water, right? So being able to understand how to navigate and to transition from one context to find that center that intersects with what you do really well, what energizes you, and what will be profitable. If we don't find that healthy intersection, we'll be in a lot of trouble. And here is what that looks like when there is an incomplete harvest. That looks like, we can go to the next slide, purpose plus passion without any profit, there's a high likelihood of burnout. Because you're like, this is great, this is great, this is great. You know the worst part? When everyone in your family or your neighborhood, they're like, I like your food, you should sell it. And I'm like, you guys are actually not gonna come and buy this thing, right? So the worst business advice probably comes from, in most cases, maybe people close to you, right? They're like, oh, like you look like you knit very well. You're such a good knitter. Okay, but there's China. They're knitting at like 20 sweaters per 10 seconds. But I'm not saying knitting is a bad idea, because if you figure out how to be like a Lydia in the Bible, selling your elegant silk, and you're like, I only put out 5 sweaters per month, and I have a waiting list of 500 people, I bet you that sweater is going to sell for $1,000. So if you can figure out how to create premium value and not burn yourself out, then you could be able to arrive at that intersection. If you have that passion and passion plus profit, you'll end up in drift, right? So you have the energy, you have the income, and I think the middle one here is where it's really about the love of money, right? The second and the third one is about the love of money. Some people, you can be passionate about content creation. You're passionate about making creative videos, right? You could make some money from it, but then you keep hopping from one thing to another. Or you're passionate about helping people, so you keep showing up to help people at the cost of actually pursuing the thing that you should be pursuing. Someone told me how they had to rethink their relationship with, like, you know, they had, and I'll go there even though it might seem sensitive for some people, but they had this sense that if someone asked for help at church and they didn't say yes, that they could volunteer, that would actually get in their way of God blessing them. And, you know, every time they had actually something else to do, they would negate that thing. And they now were failing in their college course because every time someone says, we need someone, they would go. So they're drifting everywhere, being passionate and helping people, but actually not thinking about the ways in which it's sabotaging their purpose. So there's a lot of balance here. Or finding profit, and you have a viable model, there's a good cause, but the work drains your spirit. This is for the helpers, right? This is for the helpers. They're people who, they're so exhausted by the work that they do that they cannot show up for the people who they claim to be working for. So you are so good at your job, and everyone experiences you. Good morning, Sally. Good day. Can I help you? Can I do this? And all of that. And then you go home, and you're near passed out on the couch. And if your spouse or your child says anything to you, you may just blow a fuse and explode. So yes, you're doing something that you love, and maybe it's making you money, but has it cost you a whole lot more? Like, have you actually sold your seed? You're giving a monetized version of what you're good at to everybody else in the world, but for the people who I like to say is my first ministry, my family. So there are lots of balances, and this is not just another business workshop. I'm sorry to disappoint you, because you can make money from many things. I mean, we could all go outside and say, grab a dinner chair, we could brand these things and go outside. Like, people who know me is, if you have dinner with me, you'll probably leave with a business idea by the end of the night. I can come up with anything. By God's grace, He's given me the ability to see creatively and find opportunities and not be stuck in the weeds, right? But it's really, really important to figure out, for whatever I am selling, what's the real cost to me, and what's the real cost to my life? One of the verses that I like is about the borrower is a slave to the lender, right? And this is not just about borrowing, and some people are like, no, I don't want to take any loans. You should take the loans if they actually are profitable, right? But it's really, if you think about this through the lens of your seed, it's not just about that loan, Because everyone here who has a job, you are lending your seed to a company for them to lend you back some money, right? You're borrowing your seed so that they can lend you some money for 2 weeks. So you can borrow them, then they'll lend you again. Borrow and lend. You're actually not in control. Because if they say, I don't want to borrow anymore, then you go home and you cry. We're not going to do that, right? But in an ideal world, if you can be indispensable and you can figure out what's your unique value, you can be in a situation to say, well, here are the things that I can offer, and here's what the price will be. Take it or leave it, because there are actually 5 other people waiting. Anybody wants to be in that position? So start small, and I was able to figure that out. I got a wonderful role as a dean at an Ivy League university, not NYU. And into my job, I had to be creating systems. Generally, I like to say, outside teaching, one of my unique value offers is that if I am in a room working with people, it's highly likely that something has gone very wrong. So I work in conflict and I work in crisis, which means that I have to absorb a lot of tension with a very poker face. So I have to figure out, okay, I'm in purpose, I'm in passion, what's gonna make sure that I don't burn out? But while at this role and doing amazing things in the office of the president, people started saying, the workshops that I see you doing for these students, can you come and do it for the professors or for staff? They're like, I think you've done enough for them. Like, we have problems over here. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, that's not really on my job description. But when you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you don't say, that's not on my job description. Because if you say that's above my pay grade, that means you actually have no interest in getting above your pay grade. So when people begin to see potential in you, take those clues. So I started going into the office as someone who does not like to wake up early in the morning. I was there for breakfast meetings that I started to get invited to, and I started delivering these workshops for staff, for senior people, for HR, everyone was like, we need love, we need love. I was like, wow, this is very interesting. I did not know that I could be useful. So it was very validating, and I was taking on challenges that I didn't know that I could take on. But I then recognized very quickly that they were basically telling me that by being entrepreneurial within my role, I had basically written the job, or rather the business plan for the business that I ended up leaving to create, of which I have now done for the last 6 years. And within my first year of my business, I basically tripled my salary. And I went, so maybe there's something here. And then I heard Pastor Bellows thing, so I was like, oh, I could make more money, right? Which meant that I now had to create the systems and the structures to actually do that in a way that was meaningful. But something that I thought was like, oh, I don't know who's gonna pay this. I'm not quite sure how to label it. What should I do? I mean, I could go into a whole longer story of how God used that to open so many doors. And people have asked me about business, like, you should come and teach this. And I'm like, I can only teach business within the context of people who can hear it through God's promises for them. Because I recall, I was like, I don't know, okay, now I don't have the safety of an institution for people who are calling me. I actually have to go find customers. And 6 months after I start my business, 6 or 7 months, this is like pandemic year, so great year to start a business, right? Poor, right? And there was like a place that you could like list your businesses. And I'm just sharing this very brief testimony. There are places that you could list your business. And someone was like, you should add your name to this list. And I checked the list. It was like on a spreadsheet. And like, it was like, this list is locked. I was like, oh, great. You have to submit through this form, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, well, God, like, this is on you. Like, you said I should start this thing. So, like, you're my business plan. All right? We talk like that all the time. So he was like, okay, bet. 3 o'clock one morning, come, wake up, right? For a person who doesn't like to wake up often. And he sends me downstairs, and my laptop is there, as it often is, and I hit it and I refresh the screen, and that spreadsheet that was locked was open. On line number 4, it was blank, and I typed in my business, and I refreshed it, and it was locked again. And my business ended up on a list of the best-in-class firms that you can hire to do this job, even though I had just started. So for the next 3 years, I never spent a dime on advertising. People just kept coming. Oh my God, I hear you're so great at this. I heard you've worked here, you've done this. I was like, really? Right? So if you feel led to take the step, and if you believe in God, and if you believe in the Jesus that says, if I give you these seeds, don't bury them under there, and don't hide it and just be like, I just have 1 coin. It's okay. Take your coin and bless it. And say, you gave me this coin, and you keep putting these opportunities. And he says, prove me. God loves a challenge. So say, okay, you want to be proven? See the coin. See what I'm going to do. I want you to nourish and to water my fruit, and I want it to grow, and I want a big harvest, and don't play with me. Right? Give that audacious faith. Like, move in that audacious faith. Because that seed was not given to you for no reason at all. So, that has taken care of many things that I want you to think about in guarding your soil. Some mistakes that people may make on the next slide. I want you to remember that passion is not automatically a business. I want you to remember that operating with a vague purpose might get you in trouble. So if you're not sure what your purpose is, and you're not sure what your passion is, and you're not sure what you're good at, I want you to spend some time in self-awareness. Ask people who you work with. When people started asking me to come and do these workshops, I was like, what exactly do you want? Like, what exactly do you want me to say? Like, I was like, break it down so that I can be of most value to you. AKA, tell me, because I actually do not understand right now. Okay? But now y'all got ChatGPT, so it's even much easier. Just, right? So figure out what exactly would be valuable and what also is scalable as well. Right? So for example, I was in that role creating systems for people to manage conflict and crisis effectively. But what was most valuable was actually training, Dad, you're right, actually teaching people the skills beyond their jobs, how to do it for the people who they're managing, right? And how to do it well. And people were like, oh my goodness, this really helped me. Me and my daughter, we're having a fight at home. I can actually use this skill. I didn't know how to give feedback. Oh, my boss is always doing this to me. Now I can save myself. So I actually began to take that feedback. I didn't get stuck in, oh, you must invite me, so I'll sit down with you and hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Like, they were not willing to pay for that. They were willing to pay for the knowledge, the skills, and the ability. And I had to figure out how to package my seed in that way and give them the fruit of that outcome. So, don't be afraid of failure. Do it messy. Be clumsy. Don't let your ego get in your way of trying. I love small beginnings. So when people invite me and they're like, we have a budget of $0, I'm like, great. I have lowered the bar of failure because they're so grateful that I'm doing this thing. They're not going to hold me to someone else who's going to pay me X amount of thousands of dollars to do it. So take the small opportunities. Like church. There's so many ways to be entrepreneurial at church. There's so many ways to be entrepreneurial at community. So if you think you want to be a financial coach, And you go over to Nathan and you're like, Nathan, can I help you set up like financial workshops at church? Like, can I be your person to get information from people, and then you can trade off by telling me maybe I can make the brochure and I can bring that to you, or can I help you to do this thing, right? Like, show up, right? And I'm sure, Nathan, would you say no? Oh, good. All right, so anybody who wants it, now he's on point. Right, so go, like, Pastor Bello, I was thinking about this. You build something, and I want to create a concierge service for people to go to people's homes and give them facials and massages. Hint, hint, if you do that, come to my house. But, Pastor Bello, you did this for medical people, right? Like, how do I build it, right? So give yourself the chance. Don't be so afraid of rejection. Don't keep your seed hidden. It will grow mold. It will rot. Put it out in the sun. Allow people to go, that's a nice seed. Have you thought of doing this? And you go, that's a great idea. Don't put your light under. Yeah, don't hide it. It's meant to shine. You're meant to shine. God didn't put you, do you know how much investment it is to create a whole human? I'm always fascinated. For people who've had many babies, like, God bless you. But like, the complexity to create an entire human with brain and cognitive systems and organs, like, you're not a waste. You simply cannot just be on loan for someone who will discard you when they decide that you've done the job. So what exactly are you going to produce? So just think about that and not be paralyzed in, I don't really come from somewhere. Let them not say that I have become bigger than myself. Yes, you were made to be more. So yes, if you are bigger and you're doing the most, you're exactly where you should be. Like, you're a child of the God of the most. And one thing that I internalize is, we say we are made in God's image. The first thing that he did is create. So the first manifestation of your imago Dei is creation. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, and I'm not saying you're going to start a business, I'm not pushing this on you, but how can you be a full image bearer and manifest your creative abilities so that you can be at a place where someone was able to say, well, love, I'm not sure what the budget is that we have for this project, but whatever you write on the invoice, we'll pay. And I said, oh. So my husband says, so what are you going to write? And I write a number. He's like, add one more zero. And I go, And I remember Pastor Bello says, it's not a love of money. I was like, okay, I don't love money too much. I love wealth. This is, right? So sometimes you're going to have to like wrestle with your idea of what you're worth. I wrote a lesser number and they came back and they're like, you've done so much work. Give us another invoice. And they're like, for how much? Like, you tell me. She's like, I told you should have added the zero. So I want you to think about what you're creating and have some wisdom. Don't despise small beginnings. I started for free, and someone was like, whatever you write on there, we'll pay. Activate the gifts that you have already. I love Habakkuk. Write down a vision. And I don't mean like in the notes on your phone. I'm so sick of it. Like sticky notes. Put things, it does, when you have something in your notes, in a doc, I get it. Do you see it every day that when you see it, you will run? Except it comes up as a notification. But here's how I use the notification. Once I recognized that I was in my gifts at that job, I set a reminder on my phone. Every 3 months, it would pop up and say, you're ready, get out. So you have to write that vision so clear, because no one is going to come and bully you to be in your purpose. And if people are saying, you're great, you got it, you can do it, you got to be careful, with like some of the people around that says, us, we don't move them out. So I told him about my husband who was telling me to add those zeros. When I told him I was going to start this business, he's like, what exactly are you selling? Mr. Tech Guy. I'm like, well, here's the website. I want you to build it. He's like, okay. And people are going to pay for this? So I was like, yeah, wait and see. So be with people who are going to believe in you. If they're not going to buy, at least let them believe. Let them not break you down. Let them not prefer, anybody who prefers you quiet and behind the scenes. Yes, you can be behind the scenes if you're like an engineer, you know how to control things. Next slide, please. But if there's someone who prefers you quiet and away because you want to question whether they are concerned that you're going to steal their shine. You have to be concerned whether or not they are projecting their sense of insecurity on you. And there are very many parents from a different generation who, for them, were raised in a time of dire and abject poverty. So if you're wanting to start a business and not go to college, do not be a Mark Zuckerberg. I do not highly recommend. You'll never hear me talk about an Elon Musk. Like, work diligently. Yes, start humbly. Build. Become known for what you are. And when I moved to the US more than a few years ago, but I'll say a few years ago, God gave me a word out of Isaiah. I was like, I don't know anyone here. And I was leaving a career that felt promising and successful. And God was like, I'm going to send strangers to build your walls. And this is not about entrepreneurship, but I literally was sweeping the front of my house. And a guy comes by and is like, Miss, do you need a contractor? I go, you need help to rake up yard? I go, yeah, I can rake. I used to rake where I come from. And literally a stranger that was sent to me has now become like a almost 8-year relationship with a contractor, literally a stranger. There's so many strangers. Sometimes we live in this culturally made up fear where we want to keep our seeds in our pocket. We want to hide. We don't want to become too big because we don't want anybody to say, oh, so you would think you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If no one else has told you, don't forget, I said, yes, you are. God said, yes, you are. Anybody willing to say, yes, I am? I'm a child of the I am. So yes, I am. And I pray that as you grow, whatever it is that you're growing, that God will allow the sun and the rain to pour in it and nourish it, and it will grow. In Jesus' name. So I'm going to wrap up shortly. You're the seed. You're also the farmer. Think about what you're preserving. Next slide. Your core essence. Don't compromise the heart of your work. Begin to think about how this might live in systems. One of the things that I notice, if you come from maybe a world where people think of business as purely a cottage industry, you might think, okay, I'm great at cooking. I use that again, or knitting. And then I recognized that, oh, people want what I do. Some of my favorite entrepreneurs, can I tell you, for all you people who like to make good food and you're like, I like to make my food in a particular way, think of it through systems. I used to order, not I, but my husband, used to order, people like pepper sauce on their food. But there was this entrepreneur who decided that he was going to take atarudo and turn it into a pepper sauce. And we would pay disturbingly high amounts of money to ship his pepper sauce from Texas. We could go to the market and cut them, but he figured out how to create it with such excellence. And then he standardized it, and he created a branding for it. And then he put it on a website, and then he created a 3 to 5 day shipping. So we started with Atarodo, but then here we were ordering frozen egusi in the mail. Like, there are people who will pay for these things. There's a company out in London who has, you know how you have Italian tomato sauce? The non-Nigerians in the house. Could I just see a wave of hand for those who love jollof? Not put your hand high. Appreciate them. Right? And for those who don't know what jollof is, it's the yellow sort of spicy, savory rice that you had downstairs. Do we have more hands now? Great. Now, I'm not great at jollof, but God bless the day that somebody figures out what another entrepreneur in London has done, which has figured out how to create a perfect tomato sauce, not like your Italian pasta sauce that you still probably are buying, but has created a jollof version. So there's no steaming of fish. Just pour it in, pour 2 cups of water, and close the pot, and the jollof is done. And they're paying a lot of money for it. Because once you're hooked, you're hooked. And once you create something that's a growable, healthy system, and you're not just doing this out of your back, but you've figured out the standards, and you've gotten it, whether it's FDA cleared or food this, and you've branded it, and you've made it shiny, you've learned the things. So think about what you're doing, and also think about the ways in which you can expand how you do that. If somebody can figure out how to create canned egusi, maybe I'll buy it. I don't know. Eforiro, that's the one I have not figured out. There are people who just make it perfect, right? So, like, just think about what you're doing and how you're doing it and who it can be, right? But even if you're in a job, you could be in a job and you're like, I'm just an administrator. But nobody can make that spreadsheet like you. No one can plan that meeting like you on the logistics. So what if you now became the go-to person and everyone, not just in your agency, but you now became known as a project management guru who figured out logistics for everyone. And once a week or twice a month, you take 1 day off, use that vacation, and somebody pays you $2,500 for a day to sit down in their office and sort out the spreadsheets. Nobody limited how vacation days should be used, right? When you make money, just come give it back to me. So, right? So you might be thinking, I'm just a spreadsheet person. Oh, I'm so good at writing these grants. You can have grant day. For $75, I will review a grant that you've written, and I'll give you feedback on it. I only accept 6 meetings on my calendar, twice a month. I have won over $2 million in grants. You didn't win it personally, but you did the process that won it, correct? So you figure out how to extract that value. And then the first time you do it, you realize that everyone signs up for this grant review for $75, and now you have 15 other people asking, oh, I noticed that your calendar is full, so next week the price is $125. And then they're going to leave you reviews if you give them a discount of 25%. So you grow your Google interface. But I'll give you a 50% off if you make a video testimonial, because that has a higher ROI. And then I'll use that to run Google ads. Then I'll come in and do it at a workshop. I don't need to sell $75 a day, because that's actually now a $4,000 half-day retreat with a nonprofit. But you're going to go back to your job on Monday until you figure out how to scale that. Or you can decide, my job is great, they pay me a 401k, I get health insurance. Health insurance is expensive. So I'm going to keep the job. I'm going to stay humble. And all that money, I'm going to go over to Nathan and say, make me a 401k, right? Can I put this in my Roth? Give me a 529, put me on an after-tax investment, get me some gold. I don't like playing crypto. But like, figure me out because I want to be work optional by 50. And I don't want to be falling asleep when I go on a vacation. I actually want to enjoy it. This old to vacation thing. My preference is to go on a vacation once a quarter. Okay? Twice with the kids and once with my husband and once by myself. So set your own goals for what should be your definition of success. So I'm going to just flow through this. Ultimately, this is not just about business. Next slide. I'm hoping that you're leaving with a framework for anyone who is called to build meaningful, sustainable work. Whether you're an educator and you create the most precise lesson plans, put it on Etsy. Go on YouTube and show people how to do it. I hated creating lesson plans. But there are people who can do it well. You have the framework. You have the framework that teaches a student who actually doesn't know how to read in 5 days, and you do it so well every time. That's great. That's $150 an hour of tutoring. Between 5 and 7 every day. Do it 3 days a week. And for 4 hours on Saturday. So that's an extra $1,000 a week. $4,000 a month. Whoever can do the math, figure out what's that by the end of the year. Minus my vacation weekends, of course. Thank you. 48 grand. So whether you're an educator, a cook, an organizer, a consultant, a project manager, a spreadsheet organizer. Oh my, I had a wonderful organizer. There's somebody who obsessed about my closet. Right now I have all these clothes and I'm like, Karu. And she organizes everything. Like, all my blouses are like a file cabinet, color coordinated, right? And imagine what you can do. You like to clean? You don't have to go clean. Hire 4 other people and create a roster for them to clean. And create the best customer service. So that while they are cleaning, so you get a subscription twice a month, tell all the moms, take your kids to the park while we clean your entire home for $125. Go enjoy time with your family. And then you go over by Walmart and say, I'm a cleaning company. Could we join your roster? Because they pay about $1,000 a night. So you're great with cleaning, and you scrub down that house every day. You could actually hire cleaners to clean your home so you can actually go enjoy your time with your family so you could actually make an extra $1,500 a month. Let wisdom guide us. It will in Jesus' name. Plant your seed, define, clarify what you're solving, name it. I love a good branding. Next slide. Articulate your purpose and your passion out loud. Choose the specific soil, the context. Next slide, please. Test it out. Test it out. Like I said, you may be willing. I don't really like to consider a test for free. Like, even if you're going to give someone something for free, tell them what the price is, and then tell them that you're giving them a friends and family discount so they don't devalue you. And they don't recommend you as if you're not value-laden to someone else. All right? Test it out. See how it responds in the environment. Be humble enough to accept the feedback. And measure, observe. If someone says, I thought this was cleaning, and everywhere there's smear, don't start fighting them. Say, I'm so sorry, I must have missed some spots. I'll be there tomorrow morning. If you have to lose some sleep to make it right, do it. When I started to scale my company and I started to hire people, and I was so worried, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm now responsible for people. What is this doing? And a client would say, oh, you sent someone to come and do something for me, and it was not that great. I'm sure, love, if you were the one doing it, it would have been good. And I just remember sometimes being so fear-stricken because it kind of felt like I had done something and my parents were like calling me out and I was now being punished because that's what happens when you grow up in that kind of culture. I was like, oh my goodness, they're now going to ask back for the money. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm like losing sleep. And then I called a few friends and coaches. I was like, Liz, Kamala, like, this just happened. I just got this feedback. Could you guide me on how I can navigate this? So have some good guides in your circle. That's why you don't hide your seed. Your family, yes, they may not necessarily be able to like buy from your business or people who you know, but they will be able to guide you and give you good counsel and some wisdom. So I keep going back to Pastor Bello because he probably has no idea that he has this much influence. But one of the sermons that he was preaching, he was talking about the IRS and how they like to trouble people's lives. They like to send me little postcards because once you start making money, they want to know you. But you'll make mistakes. And they made a mistake that they told me that I owed them $28,000. The first few times they send those letters, they're like, we're coming to repossess your car and your house. So I was like, I'm done. Just give me a job. Like, no, this is bigger problems. I had to calm down and get the right advice, financial advice, accounting advice. Don't be doing all your taxes on TurboTax when you start doing that, right? Create an LLC. Give yourself the structure to actually grow something good. You are worth something good. You are worth being scalable. You may grow it in a small garden today, but you will do it on a farm tomorrow. Then you will collect acreage the next day. So if you're growing it as if your pot will never get big enough, then it will break the pot, right? So just it's a seed. Last week, the IRS came back and admitted they were right. They made a mistake. So they rolled it back after 3 years of fighting with them. So when you're working and you're thinking of business and entrepreneurship, even if you're in a full-time job, your integrity, that purpose part matters, right? If your job has a non-compete, don't be lying to your boss and say, oh, I'm off sick, I have a headache, and then they run into you because they too signed up for your workshop. So look back in your employment contract and see, oh, I have to declare a conflict of interest. Declare it if you need to, right? So this doesn't allow you to work outside integrity. This doesn't allow you to sell people things that you don't have the skill to offer, as I've experienced many people. Right? Oh, I can do this. And then when you ask for the work, they ghost you. So your integrity matters because that's the only thing that will scale. If you're trying to over-represent or misrepresent yourself, people will catch up very quickly. So your integrity, your truthfulness, your transparency, that's non-negotiable. Ultimately, your big question is, next slide, what seed are you carrying? Where does your specific seed hold the most value? And finally, final slide, don't die with the seed you have in hand. My question is, what will you plant next? Thank you.
Didn't I tell you? I told you. It's like, how many businesses are we going to have now? Please remember the name. Love Kumuyi. I forgot to mention on Siloed. I forgot, that's the name of her company. Look her up. She's active on LinkedIn. If you want to talk to her, this is your one chance. Please go talk to her. Say hello. Greet her. Can we bless the Lord for his gift over her life? Thank you so much.